Greetings fellow ukuleleans, Jeff Weinberger coming at you here with a new tutorial. This one's by request. I have a patron who had asked if I could go over soloing, improvisation, single note melody playing, and that's the subject of today. Basically, how do you construct an improvised solo? So let's begin at the very beginning. What is an improvised solo? And an improvised solo is usually single notes, although it can involve chords and intervals. But basically it's off the cuff, it's spontaneous, and it wasn't pre-planned. Although a good musician has a big vocabulary of things that they can fall back on. Phrases, ideas, directions, tonalities, all kinds of things that you can add that you've already practiced, that you sat and practiced and rehearsed and worked out. And then when you hit the bandstand or you hit the recording studio or the jam session, you've got a good wellspring of stuff to take from, rather than having to come up with the goods right there and then, always spontaneously. The solo would be spontaneous, but it's based on what you practice and what you've rehearsed, or as jazz musicians call it, woodshed. You go to the woodshed and you practice and you practice and you get this stuff together. And then when you hit the bandstand, you're free. You have total freedom to improvise. So let's talk about improvising. Improvising usually can start simple. It doesn't have to be bebop. Doesn't have to be avant-garde jazz or way out there stuff, or like advanced rock, extreme shred soloing. It can be as simple as just a few notes. And that's where to start. That's the beginning. Is how do we choose a few notes? How do we choose a phrase? Something that sounds like a little piece of vocabulary. So I'm going to base this today. I'm going to pick the key of A minor. That's kind of what I was jamming on at the beginning. That was totally spontaneous, by the way. Probably a lick or two that I've played before, but for the most part it was fresh and didn't plan it out. I just said I wanted to play in A minor, and I wanted to do a 12-bar blues in A minor. So I picked not only a key, I picked a form. I picked, a certain song form, 12-bar blues. So that's what this is going to be about today. So A minor, what is it? Well, it's a key that is the same as C major. It's the relative minor of C major. If you know C major, it has C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C as its notes. It has a C chord, a D minor chord, an E minor chord, etc. as its chords, as we've gone over in lots and lots of videos. Diatonic harmony, diatonic chords. And A minor has all that same stuff in it. It is just starting on A instead of C. So A minor has an A minor chord as its kind of home base. The 4 chord in the key of A minor is D minor. And the 5 chord is E minor. Although a lot of times we change it to E7, or even fancier, E7 sharp 9 or E7 flat 13 or that sort of thing. But for today's purposes, we're just going to do a good old E minor. It's good. It's fine. Lots of great songs that are kind of based on the blues use a simple minor chord as their 5 chord, not a fancy advanced sounding chord. So we're going to use A minor, D minor, and E minor. There's our chords. That tells us a lot. That tells us that there are certain notes in those chords that would sound good if we used them in an improv. If we really emphasize the notes of the chord, we'd be fine. We don't even have to do a scale. We don't have to sit there and run through all 7 notes of the A minor scale, although that's a good thing to do and to practice and to get good at. Really, just look at the chords themselves. So here's an A minor chord. What do we got? We have an A, we have a C, we have an E, and we have another A. So we have A, C, and E. If you find A, C, and E on your ukulele, say your open A string, C on the 3rd fret of your A string, E on, say, the 7th fret of your A string. There's 3 excellent notes. You can start to improvise. You can play notes that are surefire. Not a single one of those notes is going to sound out of tune or dissonant or unrelated to the chords. They're winners. All 3 of those notes are winners. So right off the bat, you've got 3 excellent notes. Well, let's check out the D minor chord. D minor has A, D, F, A. It's got a couple of A's, so the 3 different notes were D, F, and A. You could literally just play D at the 2nd fret of your C string, F at the first fret of your E string, and A, your first string open, the A string open. So this nice little thing you could do using those notes, or opposite order, instead of D, F, A, go A, F, D, go backwards. So that would be 3 excellent notes on the D minor chord. Move everything up a whole step and you get E minor. What is an E minor chord? G, E, G, B. E, G, and B. Or if you do the full 4-finger version of E minor, same thing, it's just we have an extra B note there. So it's B, E, G, B. Either way you slice it, it's E, G, and B. Here's E, G, and B. E is open. Your open E string. G, it's at the 3rd fret of that E string. B, it's at the 2nd fret of your A string. By the way, I have to take a short commercial break here for advertise for the value of knowing the notes on the neck, knowing how music works, knowing about the musical alphabet, knowing about whole steps and half steps, knowing about sharps and flats, knowing about where the notes are, that this is your A string when you play it open, that the 1st fret is a A sharp or a B flat, the 2nd fret is a B, the 3rd fret is a C. If you don't know that, that's okay. That means you just haven't got to it yet. But I highly, highly recommend that you get to that. That is super important. You cannot be an effective improviser without knowing your instrument really well. I'm not saying you have to have super chops. I'm not saying you have to have prodigious technique. I'm not saying you have to shred. You have to be Jake Shimabukuro or James Hill or Taimani or any of the great uke virtuosos out there. You do have to know the notes on your instrument, though. So knowing your instrument well is important. So then, if we were to review, we had A, C, and E for our A minor chord. We had D, F, and A for our D minor chord. And we have E, G, and B for our E minor chord. Right there, that's all you need. If you were to take those 6 notes, you could construct a very nice solo. Keep it simple. Just play them in order for now. By the way, I'll write this out for you. You'll be able to go to Patreon and get a chart of this 12-bar blues in A minor, but I'm going to narrate it to you now.